welcome to episode 24 of Julian's Lightroom. On this episode, we have another great guest. His name is Colin, and on Instagram, he goes by Recoded by Colin. He's a high-level athletic movement coach, and he's worked with some of the best athletes in the world through baseball, through wakeboarding, and I'm sure plenty more. I got to meet Colin at the Primal Movement Summit in Florida, and I could tell in an instant that he was an intentional and a thoughtful person. So really grateful that he was able to join me on this podcast and share some of the wisdom that he's learned over the years. I really enjoyed it. I gained a lot from it. Even days after, I'm still thinking about some of the things we talked about. So if I were you, I'd get out a pen and paper and write some of this down. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation I got to have.
As far as like mornings go, I'm very intentional on like taking notes about like how I'm feeling. I do keep a dream journal.
That's cool.
I think that's really important. Just to connect with yourself a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then so like I don't know if you know who Jim Quick is.
No, tell me about him.
So Jim Quick, he's a guy that he realized that a lot of like the schooling system was teaching people what to learn. Well, he was more interested in learning like how to learn. So he tapped into like a whole bunch of stuff. If you've never read his book, Limitless. I don't know.
Limitless by Jim Quick?
Yeah, I have it right here. Actually.
Yeah, bring the cover out.
Yeah, hold on. Actually, I dated an artist in Dallas. I was there, and she like drew on my covers of a lot of my books.
Whoa.
Like, mine's different.
It's beautiful.
Dude, crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so she did some cool work on the hardcovers of my books, but yeah, Limitless by Jim Quick, and definitely one of my favorites, actually gifted to me by my brother a while back, and I don't even think he really knew what the book was. He was just like, yeah, this looks like a book for Colin. And
okay, word.
Little did he know I had been looking into him for a while prior, and then he got it for me for my birthday a long time ago. And the whole book is just about like how can we maximize our learning process. So like not even like learning what to learn, but like learning how to learn. And for his perspective is like, okay, if I read 300 words per minute, I have a rate in which I can learn. Yeah. But if I can up that to 900 words per minute, I've now doubled, tripled the way the rate at which I can learn. And as long as I can retain that information, like you're learning more in your lifespan. And like that's a big key that a lot of successful people will just harp on is, remain a student, like keep learning. And like to me, the concepts in which Jim Quick talks about, I think are so valuable because if our goal is to remain a student and keep learning, like why wouldn't you want to learn faster and better or more efficient? So yeah, he's just got like some really good stuff. And he always talks about the first thing that you should do in the morning is you should have your notebook already open with your pen like cocked up and ready to go.
Make it easy.
And yeah, it should be like there should be no resistance for you to be able to grab the pen and write something down. Because it's like, oh, I have to open this book and then like click the pen, or even like you take a drink of water first or whatever. It's like dreams get lost like that.
Yeah.
It's like you wake up and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what was I even like dreaming about? You forget so quickly. So like, how can you minimize the resistance to the journal and then write down what you're feeling, how you're feeling about the dream, what went on in the dream, and like, does it have any connection to like what's going on in your life? Just basic manifestation stuff too.
Yeah. Do you, like for you, dream interpretation, is that something that you find gets developed over time? Because I found that sometimes I'll have a dream. Sometimes it's really not obvious how it can connect to anything going on. But if I really sit there and try to get creative, sometimes a narrative can come out, or sometimes we can attach our feelings to it. What's that experience like?
I think that sometimes, like a lot of times when I'm writing it down and like trying to like find interpretation or whatever, like I just try to let go. I just try to write it down and just be like, like this is what happened. you know,
Yeah.
and like if something happens that day or something happens that week or month, and like I remember that dream and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like this is very similar to like what happened here, and I can kind of connect that. But I don't try to like sit and think too much about it more
Mm,
per se, more so like this happened in the dream and how do I feel about that? Do I
mm,
feel like my mental state is in a like a readiness state? Do I feel like I'm in the flow state? Do I feel like I'm like am I depressed? You know, like you can
mm.
kind of like you can really dig deep into your subconscious because that's I mean that is dreaming, right?
Yeah.
So like when you're tapping into that subconscious, you can become aware of like, hey, when is hypothetically for me like the wave, when is it crashing? You know, like
Mm,
are my emotions low right now? And
mm.
am I aware of that? And can I respect that for myself? You know, and like the more that you can become aware of those emotions, the more you can respect those emotions and not be like, oh, I'm depressed and like I don't like that and this and that. But like, you know, sometimes it's necessary to be depressed or
For
it's
sure.
necessary to be sad, necessary to be happy and alive, you know, like
Yeah.
all of those, the highs and lows are so important, but like becoming aware of it is
Mm.
like, to me, it's the first step to like really like appreciating like human emotions in general.
Absolutely. Accepting the whole like cornucopia of it, because it's always going to come around in these cycles and it's always going to repeat themselves. But yeah, the awareness of it allows it to not be such a surprise. Allows it not to be
Yeah.
so, whoa, what the hell's going on? It's like I've
Yeah.
been here, I've seen it, and then stuff like this, the dream journal and writing about it is not only I've seen it, but I'm understanding it and I'm actually engaging with it. It's like I'm getting to know it. It's not a stranger anymore. It's like a friend.
Or even
And
like being in that depressed state for like months and you don't even realize it. And then
yeah,
and then you're like or like you just start to notice your habits have changed over the past few months and then your habits are on like I would call like a negative spiral, like you're staying inside all the time,
yeah,
you're watching more TV, like you're whatever, like
yeah.
it's like you don't even notice it until you know things are starting to go bad and you're like damn I could have been doing all of this for the past 2 months, but like if you really become aware and like tap into your emotions and where you're at,
Yeah.
like you can be like okay yeah I am depressed and I'm gonna sit in that and I'm gonna let that happen for this time being. Maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a week, you know,
Mm.
and you just maybe your creative process goes down a little bit, but like on the other side you know something big can come out of that.
It's true. And if you've been through that flow, you know that it always comes back. And so there's a little bit of that faith aspect to it. It's just like I got faith that, this wave is going to rebound and I'm going to get back to where I've been before. And it's totally
Mhm.
okay to be down right now. But how do we respond to it? And yeah, it's so fascinating you mentioned that about the depressed state and the habits changing. And I found that recently I found myself feeling kind of low and then my body had this urge I've never had before, which was something came up. It was like, don't distract yourself. Don't look at the Instagram. Don't look at the YouTube. Don't do none of this. And so I sat with myself and I really felt just how bad I felt. And it was like, I wouldn't have actually known this if I kept distracting myself with these other things. And it made it clear, it made me understand how I actually felt. And
Mhm.
once I realized that, I could attribute it to either the way I was living, the behaviors I was choosing or not choosing, and then it made sense. It wasn't just this like, oh, why is this happening? It's just lingering, just this cloud over top of me. It's super
Yeah,
it's really
think
uncomfortable, but it's
think
really
about
empowering.
like think about what the human mind is capable of when it's completely starved of distractions, right?
Hmm.
So like think about like when we didn't have phones, when we didn't have TVs, when we didn't have internet, when we didn't have electricity, right? Think about all of these things.
Yeah.
Like go back to when people were they were just building sculptures to build sculptures, bro.
Yeah. They had
They are
nothing else to do.
and they are
Yeah.
perfectly chiseled to the T and they're
Mm.
9 foot tall. You know,
Yeah.
these people are building massive sculptures with
No
so
AirPods.
detail. No AirPods, nothing. Just the nature in the background, no distractions,
Mm.
and they're built. I was talking about this with one of my colleagues, Dylan at Uberzadi,
Mm.
and he's just like, dude, this guy will like some dude would go out to an island somewhere, meet this girl, and build a sculpture of her and leave and move on and go to a different girl. You know, like
Wild.
something crazy like that, right? But it's like
Yeah.
it's so crazy what like even like training little kids and like seeing even in myself, all of us are guilty of it with our phones and everything, but like
Mm,
seeing the attention span and how reliant on our distractions that we are,
mm,
and just seeing the effect that that has on the youth as
mm.
far as like their training. Like we'll be out there running like a 10-yard dash or like 10-yard split, something like that, and like they'll just be like slowing down like at the end. It's not necessarily that they don't care. It's more
Yeah,
like they just like they're not present. They're not like,
yeah.
okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, and I'm gonna do the best that I can. And like a lot of them just like aren't all there, and it's definitely has to do with the distractions in which we give ourselves.
For sure, and it's so sneaky because they're guised in this like convenience and this like enjoyableness from them, and then we do allow ourselves like, oh, I've been good, I've been disciplined, like I can enjoy a little bit of this,
Yeah,
but it's hard to know exactly where that line is.
don't believe the hype,
Don't
bro.
believe the hype, and it's funny you mentioned that about the training. There's a school and a track like right next to me, and I'll see track athletes out there running splits. In between their splits, they're walking with their head down on their phone,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like this, do do do. And I just had a moment thinking, like, 40, 50 years ago, our track athletes like had silence in between their splits, or they
Mm.
had communion with the people around them in between their splits. How does that change the training environment for them?
Yeah, that is interesting. I do think that music is a positive influence. It can be a positive influence on your training sessions.
Hmm.
But I do think that is interesting. Like, how does the communion of everybody like talking to each other, how does that affect the training session?
Yeah, because it
Like
kind of
now,
keeps your
now you're
mind on the
high-fiving
subject.
everybody, like everybody's getting to know each other, and
Hmm.
that definitely brings a different vibe to your training session than if like you're just like in your consolidated little bubble,
Yeah.
and that person goes and runs, and then they go over there, and like you don't really talk to each other. I
Hmm.
definitely think that there's an electric vibe when everybody is like with everybody. Everybody's on the same page, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and in those times where there's space, it's like if there wasn't, these distractions that we see with like scrolling or social media, maybe you would start talking to your colleague or your teammate about the run or about the
Mhm.
mechanics or about how it made you feel or maybe just about anything else that would like connect you to. And you feel like, oh, okay, this is my brother, this is my friend, and we're going through similar things, or we can iron sharpens iron, start helping each
Yeah.
other. I want to know because you're working with a lot of athletes, but you're working with youth athletes right now. And so you're kind of in the coliseum, if you will, of like these kids who have access to a lot of attention distractors, but you're also creating a space for them to come into their body and into the presence. Like, what do you see that bring out of the kids? Like, because I can imagine it's like this, it's undeniable when you see someone present, active, moving their body. There's something real about that moment. There's something
Yeah, you can
invigorating.
tell. You can tell which ones you can tell a lot of times the kids that are, I don't want to say like destined for greatness, but like
Mm,
the kids that are they're definitely set up for success via their
yeah.
household.
Yeah.
I've trained a huge variety of people from, like 6, 7 year olds all the way to my grandma 86,
Yeah. Yeah.
like people of all walks of life. And when I obviously the training that we do is very detailed. You get that.
Mm,
And so sometimes training little kids can be tough. It can be, but it's very evident the ones that are focused and locked in. And I've trained. I had the opportunity in the Ozarks, in Branson, Missouri, to train the best wake surfer in the world, and he was 17 turning 18, and his sister was pretty good as well, like definitely
crazy.
top 10
Yeah.
for females. And it was interesting, their parents were very outgoing, very involved in what they did, but the big thing was is like their mom and dad set this example of, hey, if you're going to watch TV or play video games,
Mm,
you need to spend twice as much time outside.
mm,
So, or twice as much time working out,
yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
So they eventually got to the point where if his name's Joey, if he played an hour of video games,
Mm.
He'd be like, oh, 2 hours of working out, just
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
right? And
Automatic.
like, and and got to the point where he was like, that it's not worth it for me to do that if I have to suffer for another 2 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And he started to like figure out, like,
Yeah.
maybe I'll just spend my time outside, like wake surfing,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of playing video games. So like, um, it's very evident in his mindset as well, and like he was the maturity level of easily a 25-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
but he was 17, 18 years old.
Mm.
And it made sense why he was great. And when you look at the kids in the gym, you can see the ones that are there to work. You can see the ones I mean, often they're just a reflection of their household, right?
Yeah.
You can see the ones that have a strong foundation, or you can see the ones that maybe their parents are extremely distracted as well.
Mm.
And it's interesting to watch that, but it's also cool to provide a space to give awareness to these kids to say, hey, look, like you can come in here and you're going to get out of it what you put in. I mean, we've all heard that before plenty of times,
Yeah.
but it's like even just providing more information, whether they know that it's a blessing to know that they can keep their feet straight or not,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
something so simple as that.
Yeah.
But like, to provide information in which we didn't have when we were kids is like, hey, like you can choose to go down this path of, hey, like I want to be as quality of a mover as possible, be
Mm.
as efficient as I can. Or you can just take some of this stuff and just go on your way and be a normal human being, whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So it is cool to see some of the little kids and how they differ, how some of them are locked in, some of them are sporadic, but
Mm.
there's blessing in all of it, and you can learn from all of it for sure.
100%. Something I was just thinking of when you were talking about that experience with Joey, and then maybe these experiences with other kids in different households. A question I had was like, how can you relay the importance of some of these training or some of these shapes or, having your feet straight to a kid? Because I have a feeling that kids have yet to develop an appreciation for like the long term. Be like,
Mm,
oh, this will be important when I'm 90. And
yeah.
so that's where that lead by example from the parents becomes so important because they'll just emulate what the parents do. It's
Mhm.
always, some people say like, do as I say, not as I do, but that makes zero sense. That
Yeah, it
does
makes
not
no
work.
sense. Makes no sense.
But some of these kids, like you said, it's just like, oh, if I play video games, I just have to work out more. We're energy conserving animals, so we're like, okay, I'll do the workout. But it may not be on our mind, be like, oh, when I'm like 80, 90, how is my body going to be responding and reacting? And so
Yeah.
relaying that importance, it's like there's almost a different way of doing it with kids, do you think?
Yeah, there definitely is. The most important thing that I've found with working with kids is um, making a connection
Yeah.
and making them feel safe, making them feel like they're heard, like really listening to them, not just like, oh, hey, how was school today? They hear
Right.
that 24/7. Like really trying to get to know the kid and what they love to do and how, and like creating like a good relationship with the kid.
Mm.
That that in itself is going to make them want to do what you're doing.
Yeah. They're going to have a
And
good time and they're going to associate being with Colin as I had a good time.
yeah, for sure. It almost has nothing to do with, keeping your feet straight or whatever, right? It has
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
to do with that. But at the end of the day, they're going to start picking up on that
Mm.
because that's what they want to do because they're there in an environment where they love to be.
Yeah.
And when you have that influence over them, it's like kids are like an empty slate and you can write
Mm.
whatever you want on them. And to some people that's scary and some people that's not scary enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So like being able to influence a kid is such a blessing, but you can really mess a kid up too,
Mm.
and I think there's a lot, like you look at a lot of new parents, and I don't have any kids yet,
Mm.
but a lot of them are like, I don't want to mess up,
Yeah.
and that's a big common thing with people our age or a little bit older that are having kids, or I mean, and then you look at a gym where those kids are in there, and now I have an influence over 20 kids at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's can be scary, and for some coaches, I think it should be more scary. I don't really want to put it as scary as more
Like
as
they
like
should respect
they should
the
respect the opportunity to do that
yes. Yeah.
for sure.
And
Uh,
how influential they actually are.
yeah, because they some coaches don't understand that like whatever you're doing in there, especially if the kid likes you, they're gonna do that.
Mhm.
And that's one thing where when I'm in the gym and I'm really focused on the connection I have with the kid, I'll just pose a question. I'll just be
Mm.
like, like what happens if like I do this instead of that?
Mm.
And then I'll just make them think.
Yeah.
And like I'm not trying to tell them what to do because they're being told what to do 24/7. At
Yeah.
school, they're being told what to think
Yeah.
and instead of how to think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or and that's a big piece where like a lot of kids will come in for like the recovery class and I'll have a little bit more like one-on-one time with them. Like there'll be like two or three kids in that class at a time,
Yeah.
and a lot of them, and even adults, dude, they'll be asking like, "Am I doing this right?"
Mm.
And well, I said, "Well, hold on, let's think about this for a second. Like, what do you feel while you're doing this? Does it feel right to you,
Yeah.
or does it feel off?" Well, it kind of feels off. Well, what happens if you do something different? Try something different.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try putting my leg in a different spot, try putting my foot in a different spot. I want you to kind of trial and error, like critically think about what you're doing in here.
Mm.
That way you can become your own coach in the future. And some of the kids, I'll say that too, but some of the kids I don't need to say that to because they can't even comprehend that.
Right.
They're just figuring that out subconsciously.
Yeah.
So you're just giving the gift to a young kid of learning how to think.
Yeah.
And as a byproduct of that, they're going to come to a realization of what is the best outcome that I can do today or in 10 years, right?
Mm.
Because like the goal is not to get the kid to move 100% efficient at 9 years old or 10 years old.
Yeah.
The goal is for them to gain the ability to think critically and see what what they want to do.
Mm.
And if what they want to do has nothing to do with align with what I want to do,
Mm.
that's not up to me. That's up to them. And
Yeah.
that's where a lot of coaches' egos get in the way and they try to say, like, this is what you have to do. No, this
Yeah.
is how you have to think. And when you think this way, you can make a decision for yourself. And if this is what you see as most efficient, then do this. If it's
Yeah.
not, then we're not in the right spot. We're not aligned. You need to go somewhere else.
Absolutely. You're creating space for that kid to develop agency over themselves.
Yeah.
And that bleeds into every other aspect of life. And I love what you said about the ego play that comes in with some coaches because maybe their interpretation of their own agency is validated by an outcome from someone else that they're coaching. But
Yeah.
really, the game is to give them the agency and let them make the choice. And if you have tools and experiences that you give to them and it resonates with them, then they'll keep doing it. And that's just
Yeah.
the way that it's meant to be. And like, you know, certain things are just going to resonate true for most people as long as they're open to it, like eating a healthy diet and then seeing how that feels in their body. And then,
Yeah.
there are just some of these truths, but you do have to allow people to come to their own conclusions about that. And I remember this amazing quote, which was from a psychologist, and he said, like, you can't steal someone's destiny by telling them what they should do, because
Yeah.
even if they do it, they're just gonna feel like, that was him that did it, and I just listened. But if I make that choice and if I do it, then I feel empowered and I feel like, okay, I'm steering this boat. And especially for kids, man, it's like a lot of us grow up without that agency. A lot of us grow up thinking so many things just happen to us. And then here I am still as an adult finding out ways that my brain is still working in that way.
Yeah, dude. We're all unwinding it, bro.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's a terrible business model for like online clients because like you're basically, but like that's the way it should be. Like you're basically giving them all the information to be able to do whatever they want to do, and
Yeah.
then and then they can leave if they want. But like
Yeah.
that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You should be looking for the money. You should be looking to help people the best that you can, and as a
Hmm.
byproduct, you'll get more clients out of it. But like
Exactly.
it's not the a client cured is a client lost model. We want a client cured is an advocate for me.
Yeah.
Like I want them to go on, do their thing, and be like, yo, like this guy really helped me out, gave me some good info. Like go see him. You know, like it should be a very word of mouth type of thing. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not the best business model.
Yeah, it's
That's okay.
yeah, because it's it's more of a wave and it's more of a flow. It's like this coming and going. And something that
Yeah.
Bam said a number of times, which made so much sense to me, is that like kind of the goal for a movement practice is for you to be able to not need it anymore. That's the whole
Hmm.
point, is for you to
Hmm.
come back to baseline. And the whole point of having a coaching relationship is for you not to necessarily need maybe that particular coaching anymore. And
Yeah.
so there is this like the end goal is to kind of free that person from needing to rehabilitate. But
Yeah, dude, I've had many mentors in my life. It's not just been one, you know.
yeah, for different
It's
things, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Can you share with me a little bit about maybe like a memorable mentor or something like
Yeah,
a
man.
lesson?
Um, there's been a lot, and like some people are mentors and they don't even know it, you know.
True.
But my first mentor, his name is Ron Wolford. Well, I would call him like second or third mentor kind of
Mm,
thing. I had a few before, but this one was really dynamic for my life.
okay.
I got to this place in Houston called the Texas Baseball Ranch, and he developed this thing called the Legacy Program, where he got it from the book called Legacy by James Kerr. I actually recently gave it to Bo here at the gym.
Mm,
Really good book on leadership.
mm,
But anyways, it was actually another camper that saw something in me, and thank God for him. But he saw something in me that was like, hey, like you sure you don't want to stay for like an extra little bit? Like, I think that you're really gonna get something out of this, and like you can come, like I'll drive you, and like we'll do some stuff, and like it was interesting actually because his name's Richie, and I would put him as one of my first mentors. But he he actually went to school where I lived, my hometown, and we were down in I was in Iowa where I lived, and we were in Houston at the
mm.
camp, and he was like, I've been praying for a throwing partner, and like you're it. And I'm like,
Whoa.
damn, like that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was there, and like I was very arrogant, know-it-all, and like
Mm,
wasn't ready to like learn the information that I was about to learn. And I
mm,
stepped into the baseball ranch, and it was basically like it was the first time I was hit with like if you think you know anything, that's the dumbest mistake you can make,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was the first time I was hit with that, and I was like, huh, okay. So and in this legacy program, we Ron sat us all down. We all had journals. This is the first time I started journaling.
Mm.
Um, Huge turning point in my life. Like literally, like flipped me on my head completely.
How old were you?
Uh, 18, turning 19.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and got there into the first like legacy group, leadership group. It was early in the morning, something like 6 or 7 in the
Mm,
morning, and we Ron would put on it was only a group of about 6 to 8 people, and Ron would put on a motivational clip. Like let's say it's like there's a lot of like Kevin Hart out there like
yeah.
talking like, and
Yeah.
he's good at motivational
Yeah.
speaking, and like there's some good ones of Will Smith or like Ray Lewis or like
Mm-hmm.
some good role models out there for sure. But we just watched like maybe like a 2 to 5 minute clip,
Mm,
and then we would all be taking notes and writing it down, and then we would have a mic just like you got there, and we would pass it around the circle, and we would speak into the mic on how we felt about the clip, how
mm,
we feel about ourselves, what's going on in our life, and we would just pass it around and just be extremely vulnerable with every person there.
yeah.
And then every now and then there would be about 40 more campers that would come in about an hour later. And well, before that, we would actually clean everything.
Okay.
It would just be us 6, 7, 8 guys, and we would clean. There was two barns and like this big red barn, and then two like like the metal silo barns, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
yeah, there was two in there, and they were all turfed out for
Yeah.
like baseball and everything.
Sweet.
And yeah, it was a sweet place. But
Can
We
you
would
quickly describe what a camper is, please?
so a camper is just one of the kids that's coming in for a week,
Okay. Yeah.
and they're learning the process in which the baseball ranch goes about like throwing.
Okay. Okay.
So much like primal movement, but like this was my first introductory to movement training.
Okay.
We were looking at the best pitchers of all time versus the ones that were getting hurt within their first 1 or 2 years.
Mm,
They were onto it before anybody else was.
mm,
They just hadn't put it together that it was for every walk of life.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
just saw it for pitching because they were just
That's
tunnel
what the
focused
yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
That's what they needed. Yeah. Um, but anyways, before those campers come in, we would clean everything, and then every now and then, one of us from the leadership group would get up in front of all of the campers and speak motivationally, and
Mm,
get it out there, like motivate all the guys, and then we would all go and we would start training.
yeah.
And so like we did that every day, and I was there for 3 summers.
Yeah.
And those 3 years, like I continued journaling at home, continued watching motivational videos, and just continued humbling myself because I was so arrogant and thought I knew everything when I was younger, like as a lot of us did,
Yeah.
right?
For sure.
Um, but it just completely turned the way that I viewed myself, the way that I viewed like what I could accomplish in life,
Mm,
and like just overall like my confidence levels and how I treated other people.
mm.
And if it weren't for that situation, I don't know that I would ever be here today. Where
Absolutely.
and that's that. And we don't really talk much anymore, but Ron knows how much I appreciate him.
Mm,
And I would love to get back there someday and just really like do some stuff with them
yeah.
and hang out. But like, yeah, that was my first mentor, Ron Woolforth, first, second mentor. And yeah, he definitely changed me I mean, I don't know if he knows how much he did, but he
Yeah.
definitely changed me.
Shout out Ron, man. That's
Shout out Ron.
like 3 summers is a really impactful experience, and
Yeah,
especially
he's a great guy.
when you're in a position to take that leadership role, given that chance to lead other people, it just sounded like a very expansive experience overall. Because, like you said, you went in with this level of arrogance and then realized just how big this world is and how much you don't know. So that's an
Yeah.
expansion and a humbling. But then with that expansion, you can also see your potential and the potential of other people and see like, oh, in these environments, this is what builds and creates that potential. And being in these
Hmm.
spaces where you're humbled and you're like, oh, what I thought I knew is like a really small percent of what there is to know. But because there's so much to know, we can keep climbing and keep grabbing that.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that it really molded me in my a lot of what I do now as far as like the creative side.
mm,
Because sometimes Ron and I we would go off to the side some days, and he would have an idea and he would like have me mess with it and be like, how does that feel?
mm,
And then that that creative side of like, oh, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's not get like stagnant on where we're at just because it works pretty well.
mm,
Like, what if it could work better?
yeah,
What if we could do it faster? What if we could do it, what if we could throw harder?
yeah,
Like that was always the mindset. It was very expansive to where like I think now in the movement training, um, like just my creative mindset from like I mean, I was always a kid that was asking a whole bunch of questions, and
yeah,
everything, and definitely wanted to do something different than everybody else was doing all the time. But like when he showed me like in a professional space that could be utilized, I think that really like pushed me into the person that I am as far as like owning that creative side in
mm,
the movement space. Because I mean, for the past 40 50 years it had always been back squat, trap bar deadlift, like all
yeah,
the things of
yeah,
like we do this because this is what we do, you
yeah,
know
yeah.
like it just
Don't
had no
question it. Just pick it up.
no question it, just do this because this is lifting, this
Yeah.
is this, like how can we, what's the next best thing, or how can we make this more efficient.
Mm.
And it was really cool to watch. Like, I don't know if you're a big baseball guy, but
No, not really.
do you know who Nolan Ryan is?
I don't.
Oh, okay. He's like one of the best pitchers to ever live.
Okay.
But like
Now I know.
all the movement that you understand, like Nolan Ryan is like a poster child for it in the pitching realm.
Mm.
And um, it was very interesting to when I started training more of like the rope flow stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I started doing that near the end of when I was at the baseball ranch,
Yeah.
and they were just like, "What the hell are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
were just like, it was interesting. They allowed me to be creative and free with it. They just didn't really understand. But like
Mm.
it was so interesting like starting to do that and like
Yeah.
their perspective on like they because we were breaking down everything slow motion video, like frame
Yeah.
by frame, everything before even it was like a big thing. Like there's a company called Tread Athletics that
Mm.
came in like I don't know, they probably started earlier than this, but like I became aware of them around like 2018, 19. But like Ron had been doing this stuff. He was one of the first people to say that you could throw harder based off of efficient movement
Mm.
rather than being super strong.
Mm.
And he also said he was one of the first to say that throwing hard is not reliant on genetics. It's reliant on how efficient you move. So like that shook everybody. They were like,
That just
"Oh,
opened the
like
door. Yeah.
yeah."
No
Everybody
more
was like,
excuses.
"Oh, that guy throws hard because he's just genetically a freak,"
Right.
like. But
Yeah.
then you get this dude that's like 5'11", 160 that can throw 95, and you're like, why can that dude throw 95?
Mm-hmm.
And why am I 5'11", 160 and I can't throw 95?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah. What is it?
And that's where we just started looking at more film, and
Mm-hmm.
film shows the truth, bro.
Yeah. When you were experimenting with the rope flow, were you already making the connection, your awareness to like Nolan Ryan's movement and like what you saw in his movement?
Yeah, so my throw started to look really, really good. I just
Mm.
had some underlying things like this was me, bro. Like I was still like this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like when I went to go here, it all just like started to turn on.
Yeah.
But like the problem is like when you have when you're standing in your front chain and like you're constantly resting in the front chain, you're gonna start to rely on the front chain for more of the movement. So
Yeah.
like a lot of like quad, abs, whatever through the front side of this,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being a little bit more of like in an aggressive state where the backside can give you more power.
Yeah.
But like my movement was really good throwing, but
Mm-hmm.
when I made the difference from like front chain to back chain and got my ankles a little stronger,
Yeah.
I bumped up like 5 miles per hour.
That's big.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
people's eyes must have gone wide.
yeah. So that was after I had went to a Division II. I was throwing like low 80s, and then all of a sudden I'm touching upper 80s.
Yeah.
Dude, I was doing like 1,000. You know what a dragonfly is, or like the rocker flies? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
right?
Internal
Dude,
rotation.
I was literally doing like 1,000 of those a day and nothing else.
Yeah.
Literally wasn't working out. I was doing 1,000 of those a day,
Yeah.
just ripping them, bro. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I just started hucking the ball. And I'm
Wow.
like, this is interesting. But
It opened something up. I remember on a
yeah,
podcast you do with Bam, he mentioned how much you opened up his mind to how much the body can internally rotate at the hips. Would you say
oh,
those flies are like a big part of your experience with that?
um, yeah, they were definitely a big part. That was like beginning of my experience. That was before I even went down and like met the guys at Goda.
You just saw
Like,
these online and thought,
well, so this is the kind of way it worked. It was like I had this like really bad back problem, and I couldn't quite figure it out. And even when I was at the baseball ranch, it would still like, dude, we were still deadlifting a little bit there.
yeah. I
Like,
saw you post on Instagram like pictures. There's like scans and then like um there's like pictures of scans, but then there was also this picture where it was like your spine. It had different discs and like different
oh
pressure
yeah,
amounts and stuff.
yeah. So I had an EMG scan
Yeah.
of muscle tension in my
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
Yeah, so the lower left side was just completely like busted, bro.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I had a slight case of scoliosis,
Hmm.
um, curved out. But anyways, we were still deadlifting a little bit, and I would throw my back out every now and then. And I was just
Yeah.
like, this ain't it. But like,
Yeah.
I still thought that I was trying to get strong, right? But like,
Right.
um, it was interesting. So I started doing all of the dragonflies, but then there was like a point in which, like after I was there and left, like I was home and I was just like I was trying to learn more because I
Mm.
this is a never ending journey and there's always going to be better ways to learn it and teach it.
Yeah.
And um, I was just digging deeper, like into things that what you would know nowadays is called a backdrop. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about,
Yeah,
right?
with your
Yeah.
non-loading leg in front, turning
Yes,
in.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So I was experimenting with that, like I don't know, this would have been probably 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I was experimenting with that and just like I remember I was doing this, bro. I was on the boards
Yeah.
and I was just like doing something like this.
Yeah.
Like you know how like cats, like how they do that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I
Prime it
was
up.
like, okay, like I was kind of like messing with that. I was like, what does that feel like? And it started lighting me up. And
Mm.
then I started like doing something like this.
Yeah.
Like swiveling my hips because I knew like this was the pitch,
Yeah.
right? And I just started doing that over and over and over again. And then I started getting wider.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing that. And then I started thinking like, okay, if the pitch is extremely explosive and the swing is extremely explosive, and this is what is going on in those movements, in the first part of the gate when I'm the most explosive, why wouldn't that be happening?
Mm.
So I started looking deeper and like try to like dig deeper into that.
Yeah.
And then I just started getting fast, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, all right, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm digging into my like glute and hamstring and like that lat area. Like every time like I'm getting into like the first part of my stride, like I'm really getting lean forward. I'm really anticipating my movement to the other side. And like that's when I started like really trying to like I had I don't know, but I would like
Mm.
get on the wall and I would really try to like rip it like all the way around
Yeah.
and band on,
Oh man.
and I would try to like go away
Yes.
right
Yeah.
there. Because going away with the internal rotation,
Mm.
it provides patience.
Mm.
The true explosivity lies in patience. If you can be patient with the leg and that's non-loaded
Yeah.
and keep it internally rotated as long as possible,
Yeah.
your body won't let you land on that shape.
Mm.
So you have to wait and you have to wait and wait and wait and wait. And then eventually it all just goes bam, like a whip.
Okay.
Like
It's
tip of
like
a whip.
potential energy stored up, and then once it
Yes.
lands, it just wants to rip it.
Yeah. And then
It's been waiting.
everything whips because the opposite side's waiting too. And
Yeah.
then eventually it'll go wham really
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
and it'll whip into, so it's like, you really just you want to be as patient as possible. And like
Mhm.
when the most explosive shapes are actually like that double internal rotation. Like when you're real patient like this and you're out here
Yeah.
and then you launch off this leg,
Mhm.
you get like this internal rotation into an internal rotation. So it looks like this, like the first frame of leaving the ground. Like this
Mm.
leg's not even on the ground yet. So
Mhm.
it looks like this. And a lot of people, they look at that shape and they're like, oh, it's bad. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not good. Like he doesn't
Too
have like a
pigeoned.
bow set in the front, right?
Mhm.
Like he's not going to land in a good shape. But like really, it's all just like a gradient. And really, you want you want the leg to be coming to the ground like this,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it slowly does this.
That's what I remember you talking with Bam about in terms of when is there an appropriate time for that inside ankle bone low, and it's that anticipation. Is that what you're talking about right now? Is like this
Yeah,
foot is
kind of.
kind of anticipating the ground, but it's
Yeah.
in that
So yeah,
corner
you kind
waiting.
of got that like if you spread your toes, and I'm sure you remember this from the podcast, but like if you spread your toes and you want to spread them the most,
Yeah.
like if you just try it, like you're gonna get more of this by doing
By
that.
doing more like
Yeah, you're gonna
inside.
get more spread out of these last three toes when you go inside ankle bone low,
Yeah, it's true.
right? So like, and theoretically, if you want more surface area when you're landing, you want
Mm.
more spread.
Mm-hmm.
So if subconsciously you can get this shape and all of those toes to start widening out right before you land,
Mm.
that would be best case.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
there's a way of doing anything, there's a best way of doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm interested in. And those are like little intricacies of like where my creative brain goes to of like how can I do this even better?
Uh-huh.
And obviously like if I'm competing, it all shuts off completely. Like I don't care
Mm.
about anything. I
You
just
want it to shut off.
yeah, I want my brain to completely shut off. I want to be in complete flow state. I don't want to care about anything that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I want to be completely present when I'm training, and I want if I have an opportunity to train perfection,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take that opportunity.
Yeah.
So when you're in a controlled environment, you have that opportunity. But
Mm-hmm.
once the bullets are flying, when I'm in game, there is no thought. It
Yeah.
is full flow state.
Yeah.
So that's one thing people get really mixed up about the way that we train is that like, oh, you have to do this, or like you're never gonna do that, or like if
Mm-hmm.
you don't train this way, then you're gonna get hurt. Like, no, that's not really like the way in which we want to go about things.
Yeah.
It's more of like it's a very Eastern thought process of like what I just said. If there is a way of doing anything, there's also a best way of doing anything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how like samurai, if you look at Bushido, which is their version of like chivalry,
Okay.
and you look at like the laws of Bushido or whatever you want to call it, they're very interested in what is the most efficient and effective way of doing something.
Mm.
And when it comes to movement, they use the word grace is
Yeah.
the most economical manner of motion.
Mm.
So like how can you be as graceful as possible when you're pitching or when you're running?
Mm.
And
Like
so like
I.
I want to look for that aspect and let that aspect leak over into my athletic behavior.
Mm.
But if I'm if I'm a pitcher per se, right?
Yeah.
My mentality is that hitter is gonna die,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
I hate that guy. Like I
Yeah.
want to win. Like
Yeah.
that's my mentality when I'm on the mound. Or in the other essence of like a wide receiver,
Mm.
like there's no way that this DB's ever gonna touch me, right?
Mm.
That's my mentality. Like this dude's never touching me. I'm getting around him. I'm getting the ball.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be simple. It's got to be this dude doesn't exist to me.
Yeah.
The ball is in my hand. I'm just running down the field. Like
Yeah.
boom, boom, done. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's no inside ankle bone high. There is no feet spread. There's nothing. It's
No.
just
Mission
straight flow.
objective.
Yeah, mission objective. So like there it's not like if you train a specific way, like how do I want to put this? Because a lot of people think that it's like if you don't in the movement world, on the outside of the movement world, looking into the movement world, they think that the movement coaches are saying, if you don't train this way, then you're gonna get hurt or you're, this and that. But really in the aspect is like, we're just over here looking for what the most efficient way to do this is.
Mm.
And
Running
if
that
you want
input.
yeah, and if you want to come learn that, come learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we believe is the most efficient way to land to the ground and the most efficient way to leave the ground. And we're going to keep it as simple as that for now. But if you want to come learn that, come learn that. And if you don't like it, leave. We don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You don't have to be here. It's
I'm going to continue to do it because I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
And, I'm running 24-25 on the treads.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to continue to do so until my body breaks. And as of right now, it ain't breaking.
No, the trend keeps looking good.
Yeah, it looks good. Like there was a point where like I overworked myself. Like I don't know, it was probably like a month or two ago. Like right around the summit.
Okay. Yeah.
I had like I was doing like 3 workouts a day. I was going to the beach and doing like a sand workout. I was in the gym doing like a sprint workout, and I was doing agilities on the ground too.
Yeah.
And like my left hamstring was just like it was starting to like grab on me. Like it was like almost like it wanted to cramp, but like I couldn't figure it out, and it got really, really tight. And I was just doing way too much training.
What was mission objective for all that training?
I kind of wanted to just push it and see,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I found out pretty quick,
Yeah. Yeah.
like about 2 months
Yeah.
into training, like 2 to 3 times a day, like really going hard, like giving full effort. Like I found out pretty quick that like that's not sustainable.
Mm.
Like what's sustainable is like like quality rest,
Mhm.
quality work,
Mhm.
with with play in between,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
having the ability to, go out and do a little bit of surfing or
Yeah.
go on some walks or play around with like my colleague Dylan. He's got 2 little kids or
Yeah.
3 little kids, but two of them are 8 and 9, 7 and 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, or no, sorry, 5, 6, and the other one's 7. So like they're young, right?
Mhm.
Regardless. So like just running around playing with them is really
Mhm.
important. Going on a longboard, going on a bike ride, doing stuff like
Mhm.
that, really in between training and
Mhm.
like not trying to grab training and hold on to it,
Yeah.
but like letting go and being like, hey, once or twice a week is probably like good enough.
Yeah.
And it's gonna put me on this like slow
Mhm.
exponential type of grind rather than like a I'm trying to get really fast really quick, and then
Mhm.
like you try to do that and then you go right back down.
It's that patience again.
Yeah, patience for sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
instead of trying to get fast really fast, you want
Yeah.
to just chill out for a sec
This is
and give
reminding
yourself
me
time
of
to recover.
maybe you go know the guy's name. I don't know his name, but I've seen Bam posting him on his story a lot, and I think he's this track coach who's advocating for less intense.
Tony Holler.
Tony Holler?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fascinated by his methodology and his beliefs where he's like, stop
I think it's real.
overcooking the steak.
Yeah, I think it's real for sure.
Yeah.
I used to definitely be in the mindset of like hammer, 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 like
It's a
all the time.
failure.
Yeah, like all the time.
Hmm.
But recently, as I'm training myself to be faster than I've ever been,
Hmm.
I definitely I think there is a little bit of a difference for long distance people, but I
Hmm.
still think there's a lot of value in sprint training for long distance people.
Hmm.
But as far as like, I want to be as shifty as possible, I want to be as bursty as possible, and I
Hmm.
want to be as fast as possible in less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So for that, I think that there's definitely like right now I'm doing Tuesdays and Thursdays with
Yeah.
the college groups at the gym. I even think that those 2 days are a little too close. I
Yeah.
almost think that it would be like Sunday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Like that would be like ideal for me. Like twice a week. Like, dude, like we did training yesterday and like my whole back chain is sore. Like
Yeah.
everything, like the erectors all the way down,
Hmm.
like glutes, hamstrings, calf. Well, actually my legs feel pretty good. Quads are a little bit sore, which is nice actually. A
For a
lot of
change.
people, yeah. So like a lot of people when they get into the movement space, they're really like obsessed with like getting glutes, hamstrings, and everything sore. But there is a
Hmm.
time and a place for the quads. Like the quads
Absolutely.
are important for sure.
Hmm.
And we call it back chain dominant, not back chain only, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important to feel the quads get strong, and I think a really good way to do that is like if you want to train them specifically
Mm.
is we've got that Beyond Power. Did you ever see that? The little
No.
so it's like a little device that we put on the back of the treadmill, the cord.
Resistance belt kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I crank it all the way up to the highest setting, 200 pounds, and
Yeah.
then I'll put the harness on and I'll just lean forward and walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll be in this like really aggressive, like forward state and just walking with that weight. Like
Hmm.
it's such a good burn on my quads. Not like I'm going to the gym and using the machines where it
Yeah.
feels like I'm like really tensing them,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
feels like they're getting worked in the right way.
Because they're
Uh,
probably getting a whole range. Like the quad is actually getting a whole range in that.
yeah, for sure. It's got to be.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, I feel like that's a really important tool. I think that's one of the best tools we have in the gym is that Beyond Power. I think that
Mm.
thing's by far one of the best.
That thing looks sweet. I look forward to the next time I can come visit and try it out. Those treads are crazy fun.
Yeah.
And Uber Zadi just looks like an awesome time.
Yeah, it's a good time, dude. Definitely blessed to be able to work here.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm I'm curious a little bit about the lore that brought you to Uberzadi, or maybe even like what brought you to the movement training in the first place. I know you mentioned that you were having some of that like lower back um experience. There was some pain going on there, and then I remember you
Yeah.
on the podcast talking with Bam about being into video games big time. That's something I can relate to, 100%.
Yeah. Um, okay. So like, where do you want me to start?
I think I think. Well, you had mentioned that at the camp that's where you kind of got into first training, like the biomechanical kind of stuff, having that mindset. Yeah, like if it's something that you're cool with going back into, how did that translate into the Goda? How did that translate afterwards? Because it seems like you're
Yeah.
kind of your own individual operation, but now you're collaborating.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, my back was real messed up, and then at the baseball ranch, still messed up, but still learning how to throw. Kind of just working through it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, but there was a point in time where shout out Coach Cody Woods.
Okay.
Um, Cody was a go-to coach, and I reached out to him. Actually, my business partner right now, Jacob,
Mm.
he reached out to him because I was like, I ain't paying for this shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, I'm good, bro. I ain't paying for it. I'm just gonna learn how to do it on my own,
Mm-hmm.
and like a lot of people. And anyways, I had a conversation with Cody, and he was just like, "Look, bro, if anything, bro, just go find a sideline and just walk on the
Mm.
sideline and just just walk." And I was like, "All right, bro." So I changed. I had like a 4 to 6 hour stretching routine, bro. In
Damn.
the morning,
What?
I would get to the gym at 4 in the morning, bro. This was for like 6 months,
Wow.
and this would have been like this would have been probably 2018.
Yeah. And
Um,
this was trying to address that back experience.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything had a lot like part of my routine came from the baseball ranch, and a
Mm.
lot of it was just like self-imposed. Dude, I have journals, bro, of sketching like every single muscle around my leg and like finding what stretch would go to which muscle, and like, dude, just like finding. I would sketch the path of the like I would be visualizing and like sketch the path of the nerve. And like I
Yeah.
would look up online all these different muscles that are touching the sciatic nerve,
Yeah.
and I would just be stretching every single one. And I had just pages and pages of sketches and like
Damn.
notes
Yeah.
on like learning my own left leg. And I
Holy
was just
shit.
like, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but
You're committed, dog.
yeah, I was obsessed.
Yeah.
And that that at the gym for like 4 to 6 hours, it didn't really work. Like it worked, and then at the end of the night, I was already back to like tight again. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
the I replaced all of it with just walking on that line, and I started feeling better in like a week. And I was like, okay,
That's
all right, so
crazy.
what's going on? I
When you
just
say
started
walking
walking.
on that line, do you mean literally like following a line and like putting
So
one
one of the
foot in
first
front of the other?
drills that we did was literally putting our feet on top of each other, walking on a tightrope.
Yeah.
That was one of the first drills we did. And then this was like years later. Um, Basically, and I don't want to say that I figured it out, but
Mm.
like we had a group of people, and I was like, okay, let me just back up for a second because there's a
Sure.
lot to this
Yeah.
that can be unwound into what you know today as like the primal movement and everything. There's
Got you.
so much in there that has developed myself and Bam and
Hmm.
Jameson and Carly like into what we know now and are continuing to learn about.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was one of the first drills. I was just walking, blah blah blah, foot over foot, just doing that. But after that, I eventually went down to New Orleans with Jacob, which is my now business partner, and we got into the go to stuff, and I started feeling a lot better. I met Coach Gill,
Mm.
which is another great mentor of mine. Man, that relationship was and is fantastic. You know that
Yeah. I've heard so many great things.
Yeah, so many great things about that man. Like there's not enough thanks that I can give him for um the amount of like pain that he's saved me from for sure. Giving me the opportunity to work out on my own,
Hmm.
giving me the space to be creative, whatever. But anyways, down there just really digging deep into it. And Gary gave me the opportunity to run the gym.
Mm.
He was like, "Look, you're very gifted in coaching." Um, One thing that I'm very bittersweet about him saying to me is, "You'll never be as good of an athlete as you will be a coach." And,
Damn.
like
Yeah,
that. It's like kind of like a double-edged sword kind of thing
it
where it's like,
is.
like I know that I can be a great coach, but I want to be a great athlete too. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'll keep that with me for the rest of my life. But like
Mm.
that, like in hindsight, like he is right for sure. Like I know I can be a fantastic coach, but I am definitely a top 3% athlete out
Mm.
there, right?
Mm. So
Um,
he just saw that in you, and he
yeah,
and
he
he
saw
believed
it in
that
me.
thoroughly, and he's like, Colin needs
He
to know
knew
this.
I could relay a message,
Yeah.
like really well. I was good at analogies. I was good at relating to people. I was good
Hmm.
at getting the point across and like digging into the details, but not getting so deep that it's like we're in the weeds now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just finding a way to relay the message to the client or the athlete or whatever and relate to them.
Mm.
And as well as wanting to be in the space as the athlete,
Mm.
like I have the perspective of the athlete, so it really helps.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, Bam and I were just, Bam had came down and like this is a like a good story. Like I was so I wouldn't say nervous, but I was so excited to meet Bam because I had
Yeah.
never met him before at this point,
Like you'd
and
seen him online.
I've seen him online, and there was this video before I met him. There was this video where he had like sliced his knee open,
Mm.
and he was like walking with like a staff or something, and like he had like it was like a mirror or something that sliced he like it like broke and sliced them open here,
Yeah.
and he was like walking and he was like going like this with his leg
Yeah.
and getting like a little rotation. And he was like go to for life, whatever. And it was just funny, I was just like, man, I
Yeah.
want to eat that guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
eventually he had come down and he was like this full Viking, like just
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe him. Just a crazy dude.
Yeah.
Very different. Both of us are very different today,
Mm.
but and I appreciate the evolution that we've both come to at this point. But back in the day, we were both a little bit more crazy,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it was it was a fun time. Him and I learning together, and he was so open-minded and it was so nice to have that relationship with somebody that wanted to be in the space and was
Mm.
as passionate as I was. Because I remember one of the first things he had said to me or something, can't remember exactly what it was, but he's like, I didn't think anybody was as passionate about this as I was.
Cool.
And then he was like, then I met you. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm obsessed, bro. And he
You
was
pull
like,
out the journal with the sketches, and it's like, oh
yeah,
shit.
I was just like, bro, I'm obsessed. And he was like, yeah, me too. I'm like, all right, cool. But
Sweet.
yeah, we ended up living together for the whole time, pretty much the whole time. Like not together, but he had a trailer out back the gym. I had a trailer out back the gym, and we were just basically living in those. And
Mm.
then eventually Gilly blessed us with a house to be able to build content out of, and that was really fun. Um,
How long were you there?
uh, in New Orleans,
Yeah.
uh, 3 years, maybe a little more, a little less,
Yeah.
something like
Okay.
that.
That's
Yeah,
substantial.
yeah, it was. It was definitely substantial. It was a good amount of time. Um, but Bam and I, we definitely we were on the same wavelength a lot
Mm.
about a lot of stuff, and there's so many good things that I learned from him, and like that's I keep mentioning Bam because he's a big part of the lore of like how I got to Ubrizadi today.
Mm. Mm.
But we were always on the same page about like the vibes of things and like
Yeah.
how things kind of played out and always had each other's back,
Mm.
and um it was very how do I say this? I guess what I'm trying to say is learning from him and him learning from me made us both who we are. And moving on from Goda
Mm,
has definitely been a a blessing for both of us.
mm,
He's taken his path in Primal Movement. I've taken my path with Gateway Max, which is my
mm-hmm.
company. Um, and both of us are doing similar but different things.
Yeah.
And both of us are able to collaborate. And I'm very excited for the next few years to see how we're going to be collaborating. And Coach Carly's a big piece in that.
Mm,
Um, and but anyways, he had come to Uberzadi. He was there, and I was like, "Yo, what's the deal with that gym?" And he was like, "You gotta come. You gotta check it out." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah.
So this was maybe 2 years ago now,
Yeah.
and I just, or maybe it was last year. I can't remember. But I just came down. I remember I flew into Tampa on accident, and I
Mm,
rented a car and drove across Florida to get there, and then I
mm-hmm.
had to drive back across and then fly out. But
Yeah.
anyways, I just come down and just did like a session or two at the gym, and everybody was super cool. Everybody was super open-minded, and like that's very rare in a lot of gyms
Mm,
to have the space, the mental space to be able to say, hey, maybe there could be a better way. You
mm,
know, that
yeah.
to be able to see that at a gym
That's a
is
humble
very, very,
approach.
yeah, it's so cool. And nothing but respect for all of my colleagues over there. They're all very good coaches, very smart, and super open-minded. And I mean, those are the highest compliments for a coach is if you can be open-minded, lose your ego a little bit, and just see what else is out there.
Mm,
That's definitely, I think that's the biggest thing that you can have as a coach. Because if you think in one way and that's the only way, then you're never going to get better.
yeah.
That's it.
To the
But
ego,
yeah,
it's counterintuitive because you think if I don't have all the answers, how can I be a coach?
yeah, and I mean
It's
that's
not
I mean
true.
that's pretty much it as far as the lore is like, just going to New Orleans, meeting Bam, and eventually making our way there.
Hmm.
Now, he's pretty nomadical.
Oh, for sure.
I'd like to live that life a little bit. I did live for a little bit, but like not
Hmm.
as much as he does for sure. Traveling from country to country.
Oh yeah,
It's pretty
bro.
cool.
Yeah, he's he can explore the extremes, man. That's something I love about Bam. Is
Yeah.
he's out there pushing the limits in certain ways.
Explore the extremes. It's a good
Ex-
way to put it.
Explore the extremes 100%. But something I think he's really skilled at is like maintaining his equanimity throughout exploring these extremes. Because when I go spend time with him, I'm like, this dude is like wild and like insanely chill at the same time, and
Yeah.
it's like this paradoxical spot.
I remember we during Hurricane Ida, we went to we shout out to Miss Lynn.
Mm,
Miss Lynn, and she'll let us stay there when we need to, and she's just an awesome human being. She's
mm,
got a beach house in Pensacola, and we evacuated there, Bam and I,
yeah,
and dude, for like 2 weeks we had nothing to do. It's just
yeah,
Bam and I doing nothing, and we took these bikes and we're riding around the beach, going just doing crazy stuff, making dumb videos.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was around that time. It was interesting because like he had one video blow up. I think it was around that time or maybe a little later, but
Mm,
it was like this whole like he had this like we were looking into like influencers on Instagram,
okay.
and I remember he is starting like just joking around one day and he's like, oh, I'm an influencer, right? Like just like screaming it all the time.
Yeah.
And now I mean now he's definitely building a good following, and it's funny how that like came back to him
Mm,
is like is his life. Like he is an influencer now.
for sure.
Uh, for sure.
Hmm.
If I mean I don't know at what threshold you call yourself an influencer, but like he definitely is one.
Yeah.
He has influence over a lot of people, but
Mm,
it's it's very funny the videos that we would make. They were literally just for fun, like just
yeah.
funny, dumb videos that we would make
Yeah.
in on the beach when we evacuated. And now like it's funny to see how like he's grown in his with Ewar. And
Mm.
because at first I've got some old pictures on my phone of like we used to run a podcast for Goda, and
Okay.
Bam did all of the producing and stuff and had the equipment and
Mm.
everything. And so like he had a good base knowledge there of how to get that set up.
Yeah.
And he was doing a lot of production for like the videos and things that were going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to see him be able to go off and now have Ewar with him, and
Mm.
Ewar now does that, and how Bam has a good understanding of the foundation of the production stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
then the Ewar now getting a better understanding of the movement. I really respect that relationship. I think that's really cool. But
Yes.
yeah,
Agreed.
nice to see him evolve into that influencer space.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, kind of like funnily ironic in a way, looking back on those videos, being like, "Oh, I'm an
Yeah.
influencer," making a joke, and
Yeah.
maybe he had that plan or that vision. We can't really know, but
Yeah.
it turned out that way. But it turned out in a way where he's like, I can be an influencer, but I can do it in a way that I think is respectful. I think
Yeah,
is
for
what
sure.
people need. Yeah, man, I really respect his ability to, and I think it requires maybe a lot because social media, it's a beast, and Bam said this many times, but to be able to engage with it while especially pursuing a kind of like mindful uh approach again is almost paradoxical in that world, and it
Yeah,
requires a lot of intention.
definitely hard.
Dude, it's hard for me, that's for sure. I know that like when I interpret or I'm aware of my behaviors as of right now, it's like I'm very susceptible to distracting stimulations. And so I
Yeah.
kind of need to like I need to be pretty disciplined with myself if I'm going to not let those take over my attention.
Yeah, I've found that in the past, um, more um more creation leads to less distraction.
For sure.
Because it's almost like we all know that Instagram's just a game.
Yeah.
It's literally just a game. Like and if you're on the side of consuming or if you're on the side of creating, like which side of the game are you on?
Mhm.
And to me, there's definitely a healthy amount of consumption to where like there's good information out there and we can learn from other people, but there's also, which I think we both get, is the unhealthy amount of consumption which most people are in.
Mm.
But I think when you're in on the creative side, there's definitely less consumption.
For sure.
Uh, just because you're spending your time of like, okay, I'm gonna. Oftentimes I don't really be posting that much anymore,
Mm.
but when I um, when I post, it's like I just step away. Like I just click post and I just put it away.
Yeah, I heard
I don't
Carly
even
call
want to
it
see what
posting
happens.
ghost.
I just want to post it and just leave it, you
Mhm.
know? But yeah, it's an interesting game for sure.
Yeah, I find it a skill that I'm working on, and I almost have this little like analogy with it, which is like every time we consume, that's like, and it depends what we consume, but every time we consume, it's like, all right, we're taking a break from the creative endeavor and we're being on the receiving end. But,
Yeah.
in a small way, if you think about it in like a typical job sense, it's just like, how often are you working versus how often are you vacationing? And then how often are you like, oh, I'm just gonna take a little vacation, it's fine. Oh, I'll just keep doing that, it's fine. And the more you
Yeah.
do that, the less you're in that flow and in that consistency of work.
Yeah.
And maybe you also don't want to get caught up into this, work till you grind and burn out and then feel like you need to vacation because you're just like at this wall that you can't produce anymore. Um, and so, like with this social media game, it's like you want to have work that you actually love and that you don't feel like you need to take this big break from, maybe to make it
Yeah.
something consistent. And then also realize, like, oh, the vacation and the break and the consuming, it's like, that's not what it's about. That's not necessarily the reward for doing this.
Yeah. It's for me, I'm definitely a creative mind where I want to sit back and I want to be able to I want to be able to unload everything that's in my mind, and then like I have these like periods of like almost like writer's block,
Mm,
right? And again, going back to like journaling and becoming aware, like understanding when you're in those states, it's like, okay, I'm in this state where like I don't even want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like it's not necessarily a point of like I don't want to, because there's this other thing where it's like, you know, should you be doing these things even though you don't want to do them? You
Yeah.
know, whatever. You definitely should
Mm-hmm.
be able to like do what you need to do even if you don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a skill that you develop, and there's certain parts of your brain that actually grow when you do things you don't want to do, which has high benefits.
Yeah.
But when it comes to being like creative, it's a little different. You know, there's these there's these periods where like it's just not the right time, and you can
Yeah.
feel it. You can feel it. It's like if I create something right now, it's like it may not be the best of what I can give. Like I'm not giving myself to the art.
Mm.
And
Mm.
but in some times that can be the best time to create. Like there's like a lot of times just showing up. You just
Yeah.
show up, put the pen down or whatever you need to do, or however you create, doesn't matter. You just show up and you do it.
Mm.
Something great can come out of that. But there's also times like in those spaces where like you do show up and you're just like, man, like this, it's just not coming out today.
Yeah.
And that those times, becoming aware of those times is an easy way for me to be like, okay, I'm going to the beach. Like I ain't
Mm.
working. I'm going to the beach today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and then I'm gonna come back and then I'm gonna be like, okay, like I'll read a book or I'll listen to a podcast or I'll be on the beach listening to music, and then all of a sudden something will inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll be like, okay, like
Yeah.
that's the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to just hammer through this project. I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to take the break.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a slingshot. I went back. So now I understand where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creative space is really tough because there is no defined goal in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're creating something for yourself or for other people, like a lot of times it's you're traveling into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And that space can be scary, or you can just be like very very aware of where you're at, and if it's time for you to create, it's time for you to create. If it's not time for you to create, take
Yeah.
a second,
Yeah.
come back to it. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
uh
It doesn't
but
have
yeah,
to be forceful.
yeah.
And
And
sometimes,
that's a big there's a book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin.
I haven't read it. I have it.
You read it?
I haven't read it, but I have it.
Oh yeah, you should read it. 100%.
Okay.
You know who you remember Jerry from the Summit?
Yeah, Jerry Hill.
Yeah, dude, he's read it a few times,
Oh
and
yeah.
him and I connected over that book while he was there. But like,
Mm.
dude, one of my favorite books for understanding myself as a creative
Mm.
and respecting other artists.
Mm.
Like everything is stolen by
Yeah.
like that's a fact.
Yeah.
Everything is stolen.
Yeah.
And if you don't think so, you're just dumb. But
Yeah, it wasn't like Andy Warhol was like someone who kind of made that very obvious through his art.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, but the whole soup cans and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like you could make anything art. Um, but like at the same time, like I think that's where myself and I see it in BAM a lot too, is like um everything that we know and we're teaching people is that they didn't come from us. Like we
Mm.
don't own this.
Mm.
And I think that's the difference between as movement coaches and a lot of other people. Like we're not claiming ownership over what we do.
Yeah.
Like sure, you could sell a course and this and that, but like it's not like you can't take this course and go out and like train somebody else in how to do it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. Go do that, because now you're helping more people.
Yeah, that's what
The
it's
goal
about.
on that was the goal to begin with,
It's
right?
about the
So
transfer.
I don't care. I don't even care if you tag me in what you do. I don't
Yeah.
care. Like I don't want the ownership over it. I just want more people to be helped.
Mm.
And so like if you can just get rid of the idea of like everything is yours, or like I own this workout program, and like if you go do this workout program and you don't tag me and this and that, like that's a I just feel like that's such an unhealthy way to live. It's almost like that remains in the back of your head. Like
Yeah.
you just let it go. Let it
Yeah.
go. Just provide good ideas to people. Let them go. Let them be. If it helps people, it helps people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I something that came to me while you were talking about this creative act and like the non-ownership of it is oftentimes when I'm having a creative vision, it feels like it comes to me. It feels like, and like you said, it's oftentimes when I'm not doing anything or having any sort of like intentional, like, all right, I'm gonna create right now. I'll have some music on, I'll feel inspired by the song, or I'll be making food and then I'll have a thought about the food with the
Yep.
music and it'll just receive like
It
an
just rolls
antenna.
in.
Yeah, and then especially the capacity for spontaneity and saying like, "Whoa, I feel this inspiration right now. If I create right now, I'm gonna make something cool." But
Yeah.
if I just hold on and put the idea to the side, I have so many ideas that I had, did not act in the moment, write it down somewhere, it's never getting made
So
because
this is what he says in the book. He says those ideas are coming to you 100%.
mm,
If you choose to disrespect the idea, not act on it,
yeah,
the idea will go to somebody else and they will act on it.
that is wild and I love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it, dude.
It just makes sense, bro.
It
Because like
does.
think about like all those things where it's like what if I invented this?
Mm,
And then you don't do it, or like you're talking about it with your buddies.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, 3 years later, you see like a TV ad of some shit that you like, oh, dude, I totally thought of that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything about it, bro.
Yeah, you might that idea might have hit you first.
Yeah, it might have hit him first, but like you never know.
Mm. And that's like that could even be a discipline in and of itself. Is like the discipline to respect the idea when it comes through
Yes.
and say that this is so valuable that I need to make space in my life for when an idea comes through like this, I have the freedom to follow it and create it and seeing how important it actually can be.
Yeah, and that's whether you believe whatever you believe in as far as religious values go, like
Mm,
if you want to go down the route of like, God will give you that idea,
hmm.
and for you to disrespect that idea is not you like walking with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
that idea was given to you for a reason. You're blessed to receive that idea. Go act on it because it's part of your calling. Like if it's something that is of value
Mm.
to you or others around you, you should be doing it.
100%.
Obviously, if it's something that's going to cause harm to you or yourself or
Yeah,
you or
but
others, probably don't do that.
let that
Those are
idea go
called
somewhere else.
intrusive thoughts, and we don't want the ones that come from inside. We want the ones that come from
Yeah.
out,
No,
right?
I love that, dude. We want the ones that come from outside.
Yeah.
And similar to what you said at the start of this about having your space or your environment ready to, whether it's write and dream journal in the morning, but making it easy for you to create, having the tools on you wherever you go in order to create allows you to capitalize on those things. And
Yeah.
one of the videos I had the most fun making in a long time was like I was feeling sick and so I just need to go for a walk outside. So I just put some stuff in my backpack and then I put like my little like uh wireless microphone in my bag because I thought if something comes, I'll make it. If nothing comes, whatever. It's like this big. And
Yeah.
then I was out walking around and I started getting all these ideas. And I was like, I gotta make like right now. And it was just a blast. And I loved the
Yeah.
video and it was fun. I was like, damn, I was prepared, but I wasn't forcing. And that dude, I love these thought analogies because that goes back to what you said about the importance of uh what is it? Grace. The importance of grace, where it's like not forcing, but like effortless effectiveness. It's
Yeah.
like being with the flow and dancing with it, but not trying to like push or force it in any kind of direction.
Yeah. And it's like they to give you the definition again, they call it the most economical manner of motion,
Yeah,
right? Just an interesting way to put the let's just say the Eastern culture has a way of words for sure. Like
yeah,
they have really cool perspectives.
yeah.
And, the creator, I can't remember her name, but the creator of Spanx. So like the whole like elastic. like
Yeah.
yoga pants, basically,
Yeah.
right? She, so you ever heard of the app Masterclass?
Masterclass. I don't know.
Dude,
Is it where you can go on and like basically learn anything?
yeah, so it's a subscription,
Yeah.
and you can go on there, and they've like Wayne Gretzky has a master class, Serena
Yeah.
Williams has a master class,
Yeah.
like all these people that are just the best at whatever they did. So the
Mm.
lady that created Spanx, she has a master class, and
On
she,
Spanx? Or
dude, nah, bro, she made so much money, and she
yeah.
was basically like, she's a creative, and
Mm.
she was like, whatever I do, I always have a journal on me, journal and
Mm.
pen, no matter what.
Mm.
Because if an idea comes to me, the first thing I want to do is write it down in pen.
Mm.
Write it down in pen, and then later I'll come back to it and I'll do like she like splits it up into like a business model. She basically just like has like this little process of like figuring out whether this idea is going to be profitable for her or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Like a
that's
system.
yeah,
System in
that's
place.
that was her thing. She said even if it's the dumbest idea that you think of, just write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Just write, it doesn't matter. Write it down and then you can come back to it later and you can do it. But like so many good ideas get lost by not writing them down.
Yeah.
Uh, and, and not to bring up Kanye at this point, but
Do it.
like of his songs, right? He's like should have wrote it down in pen,
Yeah.
right? That's some of the lyrics in one of his songs, and it's like that, like you should have never penciled it in,
Mm.
write it down in pen, make it
Permanent ink.
real,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of, it'll stay there, it'll be there, and you just got to act on that thing. And like
Mm.
that's the next mission. And actually, I'm re-listening to a book by Tim Grover
Mm.
called Winning.
Mm.
He was Michael Jordan's trainer,
Okay.
and like the biggest differentiator between the greats and just the average is that ability to act. That's it.
Mm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
literally it. If you can just
Mm-hmm.
act on whatever you need to do,
Yeah.
like, because there's a lot of people that have like a to-do list,
Mm-hmm.
but winners have a done list.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that big time.
yeah. Because
That
the
is
rest
that
will put
relationship
stuff on the
between
back
consume and
burner, bro.
create. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah,
can trick
it's
yourself
stuff.
into thinking you're being productive by like writing out a plan, and you feel like I did that. I did the plan.
Yeah,
And it's a
you
necessary
can.
part of the process, but sometimes if you're not well versed in the act of creation, you can feel like, okay, I did what I need to do. I made the plan.
Yeah, I
And
made the plan, but I didn't do anything.
I didn't do nothing. Yeah. You go to the
Yeah,
cafe every day, make a plan, and then
yeah.
just head back
Have a
home.
coffee, get hyped up, make a plan, write one sentence, and leave.
Yeah. Yeah. For real. It's real. Um, yeah, you had posted recently, I think a book review about that book, Winning. And I think it's a cool idea. Do you get in like it's like an ice bath or something, and then you talk
Oh
about
yeah,
the
I did
books
that
that
a
you
while
like?
back. That was like a year ago when I was in Dallas. Yeah,
Okay.
I had like, I was actually, this was a crazy thing.
Hmm.
I was reading. I was My goal was to read 90 books in 60 days.
Why? Just
Or,
just to
90 books in 3 months, I think. I can't remember what the goal was.
yeah,
I was just like, fuck it,
let's
why not?
go.
You
Yeah.
know, I
Like the
only got
training, let's just
2 weeks
push it and
in.
see what we can do.
Yeah, I got 2 weeks in, but I literally read like, I think it was 13 books in
Wow.
2 weeks. It
Yeah.
was nuts. I was like, literally every waking moment that I
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything else, I was either listening or reading, and that was it.
Yeah.
And like
Damn.
I was prioritizing it.
Yeah.
And uh
What did that feel like? Like how did that change you, do you think?
I was locked in, bro.
Yeah.
I was locked in. Um it it showed me the value of reading for sure. Like
Mm.
there's reading, like, some people may read like, maybe one page a day, maybe a chapter a week or
Mm.
something. And like there's value to that. There's value in the other side of it, which is just in the trenches where I was, just
Mm-hmm.
absolutely reading as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that the first book I started with was Limitless by Jim Quick. So I had read it before and I decided I was going to reread it and go back into it because I was like, okay, if I'm going to read all these books, I need to read them faster. So I need to
Yeah.
reverse myself in the techniques that he was using. And like one of the techniques is actually to be able to count in your head while you read.
What?
Yes.
I haven't heard of this one. This is called.
Yes.
I'm just gonna write this down. This is called Limitless.
Limitless by Jim Quick. Yeah, he says you should be able to count in your head while you read. You should not be pronouncing words in your head while you read.
That's incredible.
Because when you can recognize a word as a symbol by
Mm,
associating it with something,
mm,
you now have a faster way of reading. Now you just see symbols on the page instead of a word in which you're pronouncing like uh for example, like mentality.
yeah.
Mentality. You have
Yeah.
these I mean you call those syllables,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? So we don't want to use syllables to read. We want to use symbols to read.
Mm. And
So
see it
like
as
you just
meaning.
you have a mental image of mentality,
Hmm.
right? And you know what that word relates to. He uses association with everything.
Mm.
And so like when you can have these passages where your eyes can literally just scan the symbols,
Yeah.
they just never stop scanning. You never
Yeah.
go back. He says when you go back and reread a passage, it actually makes it harder to remember. So he has it's
That's so
interesting.
counterintuitive
Yeah,
hearing
it's
that.
very counterintuitive. But he says when you get stuck on like three sentences, you're
Mm.
not getting the big picture idea.
Mm.
So you want to get the big picture idea of like, let's say there's 2 or 3 pages of an idea
Hmm.
and you're stuck on 2 or 3 sentences. Now you're confusing yourself with the whole idea.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
just get through it.
You're in the
And
weeds.
then, and like the drill he does is you get through a whole idea and then you shut the book and then you write down what you remember from the idea.
Mm. Is that what you do?
Um,
Or every now
Not
and
so
then, maybe?
much anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, definitely revert back to some old habits for sure. But like,
Yeah.
my reading level definitely went way up after
Yeah.
reading that book a few times.
Yeah.
But the definitely like while you're doing it, you'll time yourself.
Hmm.
Like you'll just see how many words you're reading per minute, and
Yeah.
then after that, then you'll try his way,
Mm.
and then you'll double your reading speed in literally 10 minutes.
That's incredible. That reminds me of something I read. I believe it was in the 4 Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss. You're probably familiar with him.
Haven't read that four
No?
hour.
4 Hour Work Week is very cool. It's about like life design, and obviously 4 Hour Work Week is like a nice juicy title. People are like, oh, I only got to work 4 hours.
Yeah,
Um, but anyways, one of the reading tactics he describes in the book is something like he takes a sentence and he basically wants to focus on reading the first word and the last word, and then kind of like you're saying, like scanning really quickly the words in between,
yeah,
and then
that's it.
that means you can like jump quicker. I've never tried it myself, but it just sounds to someone who hasn't ever experimented with like the how I read and trying to improve it. It just sounds wild, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything else, right? A lot of people be like, "Oh, this is just how I read," but
Yeah.
it's not just how you read. You were taught to read that way.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you get better?
Mm-hmm.
Just like walking, right? You were taught to walk that way.
A
And
hundred
whether or
percent.
not you realize you were taught to walk that way, you were
Mm-hmm.
taught by your environment to walk that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can you walk differently? You
Yeah.
know,
And we
how can you throw the baseball differently? You know?
Yeah, and it's a mistake to identify with our behaviors because we
Yeah.
think that, oh, that's who I am. So if I don't behave in that way, that's not who I am anymore. And that's kind of
Again,
scary to think.
back to the Bushido of the samurai. If there is a way of doing anything, there's a best way of doing it.
Hmm.
Right? It's applies to everything. They even went to the extent of like when they had like ancient like tea parties, right?
Mm,
They had like everything was just focused on like, okay, so if I lay the table a specific way and I lay the cups a specific way, if I pick the cup up a certain way, if I drink from the cup a certain way, put it down a certain way, then it makes cleaning up that much easier,
I love that.
right? It all just like it helps
Mm.
everything else. And they believe chivalry is the poetry of life.
Mm.
So when, like, let's say that all of the tea party, for example, let's say that like the napkins are crumpled up, there's tea on the side of the glass, right? Whatever. So poetry is fluid language,
Mm.
right? So when chivalry is applied, it becomes fluid life.
Mm.
So if I have respect for what's going to happen next, then everything will start to flow smoother. It's just
Yeah.
like if I see a waiter and they're carrying 20 drinks,
Yeah.
both hands, and they got to go through a door, and I'm sitting at a table,
Mm-hmm.
I should get up and open that door for them because it's going to allow for their life to move more fluidly.
Yes. Yeah.
But most people don't do that, but like, whatever.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
to get,
Yeah. Because
but
they're
like
not
that,
thinking about it, or they don't see that like it doesn't really cost you anything.
yeah, chivalry is just lost. It's
Mm-hmm.
lost. Like the deep understanding of what chivalry is, like the ability, it's the ability to make everything around you better. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with opening the door for the girl.
Right.
Like everybody thinks of that when they think of chivalry. Sure, that is
Mm-hmm.
part of it, but like that's not the encapsulating like point. The point is to make everything around you better.
Yeah.
Like even imagine your own home and being chivalrous to the inanimate objects in your home. If
Mm.
you just and we're all guilty of this. But like if you get home and especially us guys, like you just throw your clothes on the floor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're being disrespectful to that item of
Mm-hmm.
clothing and not allowing for it to like flow
Yeah.
fluidly because now they're all over the place. Chaos is a constant.
Mm-hmm.
However you control that, that comes from um, Jonah Hill's um, therapist.
Okay.
I can't remember his name, but they had a Netflix show on it. But he said chaos is a constant, and that
Yeah.
just it stays with me.
It's facts.
But and we're constantly fighting against it. But like being able to put things where they need to go, put
Mm.
things away, don't put them down, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Being able to just respect inanimate objects as well as respecting individuals around us, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to make your space and everything around you that much better
Yeah.
by being chivalrous, just
Absolutely.
allowing life to flow fluidly.
Absolutely. You're, in a way, you're disrespecting your future self by creating a scenario where you're going to have
It's
to
true.
expend unnecessary energy on a mess that you could have avoided making. And
And
and these are
we
just mundane
disrespect
day-to-day
ourselves quite
things.
often, bro.
Oh, dude, we do. The easiest person to disrespect is yourself.
That's for sure.
It's so true, man. And learning to respect yourself is really uh it's a growth provoking process. And then it makes respecting other people easier. It makes it come
Yeah.
a little more naturally, but
I think it's more enjoyable too.
100% because you just know you have like an intrinsic feeling of like, oh, okay, I actually feel way better when I've been respecting and treating myself with the respect and love that I deserve. And so then you can see someone and say like, you know what? After practicing what I think I deserve, I can try to share with you what I believe you deserve. I believe what everybody deserves. And
Yeah.
yeah, like especially things like dishes or clothes or keeping our space tidy. These are necessary and mundane, but why are these the things that we would allow ourselves to spend extra energy on when there are things out there that feel so meaningful? It's worth having the extra energy for it, like coaching the youth or coaching people to have an efficient and enjoyable experience in their body. It's like I can be saving my energy in all these little ways so that way I have enough and I have a surplus to direct into these things that feel like big needle movers. Feel like they're
Mm.
having big, beautiful impacts on people. Why am I wasting all this time organizing the damn cupboard with all the dishes? Because I just got too many in here.
Yeah.
There's no space.
You ever seen the movie Limitless?
Oh, dude, once, like maybe when it came out, and like I was probably little.
So if you remember, he takes the pill, right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing that he does when he takes the pill?
Dude, I don't remember. Does he run?
Oh, no. So the first thing he does, so he's a writer,
Mm.
an author. And the first thing he does when he takes his apartment is disgusting.
Oh, he cleans.
The first thing he does is he cleans everything.
Yeah.
like that, like if you want to know how to lock in,
Yeah.
that's how you lock in. You make sure everything is where it is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure everything's put away. That way you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
But that gives you a better opportunity to have more of like an open and creative space. Now you don't have all these things on the back burner in your mind because
Yeah.
each burner takes equal energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if I have all these things on the back burner, you either get them done or admit you're never gonna do them.
Yeah.
Because like if you keep them on the back burner, like it's just you're just expending all this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's a huge thing for me in the last like 5 to 10 years
Mm.
is like really like, okay, am I gonna do this task? Like as a creative, like I'll definitely like have these things where I'm like, I want to do that, but like I'm not creating the time to do that. And
Yeah.
like it's there.
Yeah.
And it's like you either do it or just admit that it's never gonna get done and just exit off the list. And
Otherwise,
then
you're
move
expending
on.
energy holding it.
Yeah, you're just holding on to it. It's always in the back of your mind. And when something else could be like you want to create that space for more ideas to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get rid of those other things,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't clean your place,
Mm.
then like you're gonna have that extra space being held inside your head.
Yeah. And I don't think we respect how much energy and like mind space that actually takes from us on a day to day because it shows up every day. It's in that space. We have like a bandwidth that we can handle. Respecting that bandwidth is super important. And it reminds me of a post that I think you made, which I think you talked about the idea of mastery of focus. And I'm not. You tagged someone
Yeah.
in the comments. I'm not sure if it was it from a book.
Yeah, definitely. That is what that was. It was either the Way of the Samurai.
Mm,
It probably was that book.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'd be interested. The focus. Let me look really quick.
Mastery of
There,
focus.
mastery of focus. Oh, you know what that was?
Was that a repost? Because you were in the plunge
No,
again.
no, that was hold on, let me look. What that's who is his name? It's hold on. I listened to that one. That was
Mm,
an Audible book. Hold on. I've got it right here. That was Mastery by Robert Greene.
Mastery by Robert Greene.
Yeah. So I don't remember a lot of that book, and that's
Mm,
one of the drawbacks from reading all the books at once is like you're just
yeah.
right, you're getting through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I tried to do was I have a list on my phone, and every time I heard a thought that I was like, "Whoa, that grabbed me," like I
Yeah.
would pause and I would do a voice note and I would repeat what I got from it, and I just left it in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but like mastery of focus, like people don't actually, not a lot of people, I would say, understand what like real focus is. And I
Mm,
think that comes from back when we were first talking about like the human brain starved of all distractions is a different beast. But when we have all these distractions, because when I was doing that with the books,
yeah.
I cut out all music. I didn't listen to
Yeah.
any music.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
It I remember when I came back to music for the first time, I listened to some song by Rihanna. I can't remember what it was, but I was like,
Yeah.
"This is fire, dude." I
Yeah.
was listening to it and I was like, "This is great."
It
But
hits
like,
different.
yeah, it did hit different. But it was like when you're really locked in on like you're training focus as a skill
Mm,
and not using focus to develop other skills, right? Because
mm,
like if I want to learn to play the guitar, I have to focus on playing the guitar.
yeah.
Well, like just like Jim Quick comes in and says, people are teaching us what to learn.
Mm-hmm.
How do we learn how to learn?
Mm,
So we're focusing on these tasks. How do you learn how to focus?
yeah.
I mean, that's all meditation. That's all like
Yeah.
um, very very Eastern thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like
a
a
lot of,
prereq for the task itself.
yeah, of course, you've got to learn how to focus.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting with going back to like the young kids is like they're being robbed of their ability to focus before they even know what it is
Yeah,
at,
damn.
at this point. Like
Yeah,
it's that bad because it's like you get an iPad or you get an iPhone before you even know how to focus.
yeah.
And now you're just being robbed of that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And that ability can make it's the difference between somebody being great and not.
Yeah,
The ability to focus and act. Like if you can focus and act, or I mean, however you want to put it, act
yeah.
and then focus, or whatever. But if you can focus better than other people,
Mm-hmm.
then like you're gonna get way more done.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure you may have seen like some of those graphics where it's like 3 weeks of unfocused work is equivalent to like 4 hours of focused work, right?
Yes, yes.
So like,
Or you hear people talk about deep work sessions, like every
yeah,
day plot out. It doesn't even have to be that long, 2 to 3 hours
yeah.
of deep work. Highly effective. But
15 minutes, bro.
I love it, dude. The tangible object with the real
Yeah,
sand.
you can see it.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it works well. Like
Mm.
for reading or for anything,
Hmm.
it helps a ton.
Something I was gonna ask you your opinion on was the difference in experience when you're using something a little bit more tangible and like manual, because you say that in the morning you write down your dream journal. Like, what difference do you think it makes if you're using your pen and paper versus hopping on the notes app and typing it down?
The pen and paper is the translation of your soul, bro.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You just-
Yeah, like
all right,
you're
go on.
literally putting your soul on the paper. Like it's real. It's not like saying it out loud is nice and like, but it can't be. It's not real when you just say it.
Mm,
Like when you put it down, it now becomes a tangible object. Like
mm,
now this book has words in it that I can pick up at any point in time and see those words. They're real words. But if
yeah.
just say it,
Hmm.
like what if nobody's there to hear
It just comes and
it?
goes.
And even if somebody hears it now, it's just a big game of telephone of like, then it gets lost in translation and blah blah blah.
Try to
But like
recall.
even like you could say it into your phone and like it's in your phone, but like I just don't think that that has a bigger effect than writing it down. There's something about connecting
Mm,
yourself to the paper via the pen, or I mean, we've written things down for since the beginning of time,
yeah.
right? That's like being able to illustrate what you're thinking is such like an ancestral thing.
Hmm.
I think that you just have to continue to do that. And again, that's another thing that this thing robs you of.
Yeah.
You're able to create with this for sure via
Yeah.
videos and things like that. But like there's something to me that I don't think ever will replace the ability to write onto a surface and
Mm,
capture the idea.
mm.
There's nothing that will ever replace it.
You know what that's making me think of is I've had this justification in my life before where if I'm journaling and I do it on a computer or on my phone, I'm like, oh, I can get my train of thought or my flow of consciousness out faster. And so I can be like on the jump a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think the art of writing with pencil or pen on paper actually slows you down, actually slows down your process. And that could be a really good thing when you are trying to communicate or write something down clearly. You might not get ahead of yourself, or you might be able to sit with a thought or idea a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that's kind of back to like that portion of time that I was reading like a bunch
Mm,
at once. Like that's what I was doing. I was doing voice notes because it was fast, fast, fast. Everything was fast. But like,
yeah.
dude, that book Mastery by Robert Greene, I barely remember shit from that book.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Is like I figured that it wasn't a waste of time to
Hmm.
do that, but it taught me that if I go too fast and I don't appreciate what I'm like, there's a fine line between like going too fast, going too slow, like with everything in life, there's always going to be that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
And
Moving
um
target.
yeah, and that zone of being able to like, hey, this is how I'm gonna retain and like soak in this information. Like
Hmm.
with that book from Rick Rubin, like I'll read like 6 pages and I'll just I'll write a bunch about those 6 pages,
Mm.
and I'll just let that soak for like 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
and then like I'll go back and read another 6 pages.
Yeah.
With books like that, you definitely have to do. You don't have to, but that's the way I like to do it. Is
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of take some time to let it process, let myself kind of utilize the principles in which they're talking about.
Mm.
Um, and I really, really like the one that I'm re-listening to right now, the Tim Grover book, because he's he's big into helping people think or learn how to think. Like I was
Mm.
telling you with the kids, like
Mm-hmm.
teach them how to think, not what to think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like he never once in the book tells you what to do. And I think that's
Mm.
really cool. It's more of like, hey, this is what I've seen out of Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, some of the greatest to ever play the game.
Yeah.
This is what I've seen out of some of the greatest of executives that I've ever trained or like helped with.
Mm-hmm.
Like you make a decision whether or not that's you or not.
Mm.
You know, this is what winners do. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to be a winner. Like that's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like, I just think that that's really powerful.
Can you remind me the title of that book?
It's called Winning.
Winning. Nice and simple.
Yeah, by Tim Grover. He's
Yeah.
got another one called Relentless, but I think this one's better.
I like it, man. It's what you shared about um yeah, taking the time to really reflect on what you've read and then also integrate kind of shows a respect for the book, but also a respect for yourself. And in a way, it's like it is an act of taking your life seriously. You're taking your life with value. And it actually reminds me of another post you had made or something you had shared recently, um, which is discipline looks like restriction to the
Oh
undisciplined.
yeah, yeah, that was
And
a good one, huh?
yeah, because I've heard that so many times from certain people that, they're concerned that I take things too seriously or that I take myself or my life too seriously. And it's kind of hard to like relate why in a way sometimes or
Yeah, dude, go live with a bodybuilder, bro.
yeah, why?
I lived with one for a year and
Yeah.
a half.
Would you
The
learn?
most disciplined individuals that you'll ever meet.
Yes.
Like they
Yeah.
don't they're just like they're unapologetic about it. Like, dude,
Mhm.
blender goes off at the same time every day.
Mhm.
They'll cook fucking 10 pounds of cod at
Yeah.
once, make the house smell like shit,
Yeah.
for like once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And it's like everything's the same. Like, oh, hit the gym. Here's this meal. Here's this meal. Everything's calculated. Their
Mhm.
whole life is calculated.
Mhm.
And like there's a respect level that I have for that, like the amount of discipline. Like I've trained some of the best baseball players in the world today,
That's amazing.
and I've never seen another individual as disciplined as he was.
Wow.
Bro, I mean, I've trained NFL, literally everywhere, but
Yeah.
like that dude
Yeah.
was the most disciplined person I've ever seen. If an athlete locked in like that,
Yeah.
bro,
It'd be
there's
unstoppable.
yeah, it'd be unstoppable. Like if they calculated their life like that,
Mhm.
they'd be unstoppable. But at the same time, I do think that there is benefit in like, chill for a sec, just for
Exactly.
a sec.
Goldilocks zone again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Grover would say otherwise. He would basically say like that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, my iPad's at 10%, by the way.
Honestly, bro, I feel like we're nearing the end of this anyway. We're almost at 2 hours, dog. Like this has flown
And we've been
by.
vibing.
We have been vibing.
Sure.
I've been really appreciating it. Um, one last little thing I just want to get your thoughts and well, I probably already know your thoughts, but I just want to hear them shared is
Sure.
when we were at the Primal Movement Summit, I overheard you talking with someone and it just rang true and it was like the ground resting is the hack that no one knows about and that people don't respect how big it is. And if we can just show off to the people right now what the ground rest setup looks like
Yeah.
or what we're
This
choosing
is
to do with how we rest in our bodies. Like
Yeah, I
what
mean,
is this giving you?
I'll show you my living space here. Like
Please.
this is literally just is it. Like that's the couch, but
That's the couch. Yeah.
it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's it. Like
The environment's
yeah,
intentional.
there's the floor desk.
I love
Uh,
it. That's what's up.
So like that's all it is. Like there's nothing crazy about it,
Mm-hmm.
but like I mean, with it you can do so much.
Yeah.
I think so the ground, um like I was saying when I was before I'd really gotten into all this, I was doing like 1,000 like dragonflies a day.
Uh-huh.
And like that, when you do something like that, like it's extremely unconventional and definitely not traditional in the as far as the weight room goes. It's
Yeah.
very traditional when it comes to human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But um, when you do that, you'll just learn. And
Mm.
like repetition is the father of learning.
Mm.
So like and the grandfather is failure. So
Yeah.
like
Oh shit.
yeah, so like learn that the first part of that repetition, the father of learning, comes from Lil Wayne,
Yeah.
but the second part I added.
I love that. I'm gonna write
um,
that down.
but the environment in which you choose to live in, like I mean, like this couch is nothing, right? And
Uh-huh.
it's split. I can split it in half too, so it becomes a bed as well.
Yeah.
And then like the cushions on it, this thing is has been my favorite purchase of all time. But it
Mm-hmm.
comes with these little triangle cushions.
Yeah.
And so on the ground, like if I ever like if my back feels a little compressed or whatever,
Yeah.
I'll just put this thing down
Yeah.
and I'll take my legs
Oh, it's perfect.
here. Bro, they just fit perfect. And
Yeah.
lay down right there.
It's
Just
Colin sized.
I also sleep with this thing underneath my legs.
Whoa, like through the night or nap time?
Yeah, through the night.
What?
Yeah. I'll get rid of it about halfway through the night.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Why do you like it
you know,
though?
you get a little squirmy,
Yeah.
but like that's how I'll start my sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
428 hertz
Mm.
in my ears. I got
Mm-hmm.
the speaker rolling with 428 hertz.
Yeah.
If you don't know about that, you got to tap in
It's a
the healing
vibe. I,
frequencies.
I got the 528 rolling
Yeah,
when I'm
yeah,
decompressing.
yeah. Or is it 423? I think it's 528, 423, maybe.
That
I don't know.
sounds right.
Let me look. 432. Sorry,
432.
432 hertz.
Mm.
528, 432. Yeah, those are the healing frequencies. If you don't know about that,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta tap in for
That's
sure.
so real.
Um, but yeah, just decompressing on the ground. But like, dude, just people think that you need to get fast like other ways. Like this is really where you get fast. Like that's my opinion.
You get fast by hanging on the ground.
This is my experience,
Yeah.
right? My experience is that this is what made me fast, not a whole bunch of other stuff. Like sprinting is a given to
Mm-hmm.
get fast. Like you have to sprint
Yeah.
to get fast. Like that's like saying you want to dunk and you never want to jump, right? If you don't sprint, right? But like it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. So like if you want to get fast, you have to sprint,
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is besides sprinting in like moving forward, this is the most supplemental, like the best supplemental thing that you can do to get fast, be a
Mm-hmm.
better athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. Like if you can't sit here for we've been on the phone for 2 hours. If you
Mm.
can't sit here for an extended period of time,
Mm-hmm.
there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you spend more time on the ground, you're gonna quickly figure out not only what's wrong, but you're gonna start to figure out how to fix it on your own.
Mm.
Most people don't want to go through that, so that's when you hire a coach.
Yeah.
Right? It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
But if you want the quick and easy, or not, if you want the inexpensive way, right,
Mm-hmm.
you can either get things done fast,
Mm-hmm.
inexpensive, or what's the last one? There's a third one.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, it's like fast, cheap, and quality.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Pick two.
fast, inexpensive, and done well. You can only pick two, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want it done well, and you want it to cost you a lot of time because time is a currency,
Mm-hmm.
then I would say do this on your own. Literally just on your own. Don't even reach out to a coach. Do this on your own first.
Mm.
And then kind of like see where you're at. That's what I would challenge a lot of people. And then if they want to dig further and dig deeper,
Yeah.
then get hit up a coach. But
Yeah.
like spend time and you're gonna do it well here. like just on your own. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people can't get over wanting to listen to somebody else teach them how to do it
Yeah.
instead of like, just taking it into their own hands.
Yeah.
Because eventually, at the end of the day, as a movement coach, I'm going to teach you how to take it into your own hands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
start taking it into your own hands
Yeah.
right away, and then if you need some help, just reach out to somebody, and everybody's willing to help, man.
Absolutely. There are people waiting to help. There are people just
Yeah,
frothing at the bit, waiting to
yeah.
help, man.
And some people will do it for free, man.
100%.
Some people will.
Sometimes it's just about the relationship.
Yeah, I don't really have the time to do it for free anymore, but dude, I helped people for free for like 3 years.
100%. Because that's what you want to do. It's about
Yeah,
helping people.
yeah. If I had $10 million tomorrow, I'd still be doing the same thing.
100%.
I'd still be an Uber's eye, still be doing the same thing, still
Yeah.
be trying to run as fast as possible. Because nothing I
Mm-hmm.
do has
Mm-hmm.
a monetary what would I say? My goals are not monetary.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what a lot of us want to chase money for, anyways, is to have the freedom to do what it is that we love. To work to get the money, so that money allows me to do what I love. But it doesn't have to be a chase towards the money. It can be a chase towards doing what you love, and then
Yeah,
other things can come along, you know, on their own.
yeah, and money will just come. You just
Money comes.
learn to let it go a little bit. Some people are so about money.
Yeah.
You let it go a little bit, and
Hmm.
it'll come to you.
Yeah. What we want is,
Everybody's got their own struggles with money, of course.
yeah, for
Everybody
sure.
does.
I think
But
your camera turned off. Is your I I agree with that, man. The money will find you, and you'll get the amount of money you need.
yeah, I think what the quote is like the man who does more than what he's worth will soon be paid for more than what he does, or something like that.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And my uncle once taught me, uh, you know, God gives a lot to those who share with others.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and so
yeah. Reap what you sow, bro, for sure.
being that transmitter, you know, and
Yeah, is my
allowing that
camera
flow of
back?
energy.
I plugged it in. Is my camera back?
We are not back, but maybe this is a good place to end it, bro.
It's a sign,
I
bro.
think so. We don't have to struggle.
No sir,
No. This has been an absolute pleasure, Colin. Thank you so much for being here with me.
dude. Appreciate you being flexible with my crazy schedules.
Yeah, dog, it's all good. We're all playing the game of trying to juggle the different things we want to do, and I'm in that boat. I'm one of
Yeah,
those.
for sure, dude. I appreciate you and appreciate you doing this for especially us in the movement space. I think that's
Mhm.
really cool to for you to kind of get on and help people share their stories
Oh,
because everybody's story is valuable, bro. That's one thing that Gilly taught me. He said, share
mhm.
your story. That's like one of the number one things that I'll keep with me is share your story because it's valuable.
Damn, that means a lot, man. I'm so blessed that I find it so fascinating and enjoyable to try and understand who people are and why they are the way they are. So, yeah, I could tell that you were keen on sharing your story coming in here. We made a space for it, and I'm loving every minute of it. So,
Cool, bro.
yeah,
Appreciate
dog.
it.
If there was like any tiny message you'd want to leave someone listening to this with, you,
Oh man,
you got some?
you can put me on that spot,
Yeah, yeah.
huh?
Off the top quote, freestyle.
I would say there's a good one from what's his name? Larry King. You know who that is?
Is he
You
a
should.
comedian?
Nah, you should know. If you're a podcast and
Larry
interviewing
King.
people, you need to
Was he
know
a
who
talk show host?
Larry King was. He had like he has like a lot of the records for like interviewing the most people
Oh
and
shit.
like doing stuff like that. Like obviously, probably Joe Rogan
Hmm.
is surpassing that at some point. But I think Larry King, you can look him up in his stats or whatever. It doesn't.
Okay.
He's one of the most legendary interviewers of all time. And he says, "Don't be afraid of change.
Hmm.
Anything that you do in your life, you're gonna be you're gonna have to change,
Hmm.
and whether you do or not, change is gonna find you."
Mm,
So don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to fail.
yeah.
And those two things, just embrace it. Embrace the failure, embrace the change. And that's a big thing I like to leave people with, or just anybody that comes in. That's what I like
Mm-hmm.
to instill, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to fail. That's a big thing. Don't be afraid to change.
I appreciate that, man. It's built into life. So
Yes, sir.
accept it, get used to it, make friends with it, and
Yeah.
make space for it. That's awesome, dog. Well,
All right, bro.
this feels good. I hope whatever else you got going on today is big, beautiful, serves you and other people, and look forward to connecting again, man.
Definitely will, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right,
All right.
dog.
I'm out of here. I'll see
Later.
you.
See ya.